Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I heard Abu Abdullah radiallahu anhu say, a free human being is free in all circumstances. Should a misfortune befall him, he bears it with patience, that is Sabr. If calamity strike him, they don't shatter him. If taken captive and subdued, he turns hardship into ease, as was the case of Yusuf, the truthful and trustworthy. His freedom saved him from harm, although he was enslaved, subdued, and imprisoned. The darkness of the pit and the dread and whatever befell him did not harm him until Allah favored him and made the insolent tyrant who had been his master his slave. Then Allah made him his apostle, and through him was merciful to the people. In this way, patience is followed by good. So be patient and reconcile yourself to patience in order to be rewarded. So this is a hadith. And it says a free human being is free in all circumstances. One lesson we learned in prison and in other conditions is that when you're psychologically free, even though you're in prison, it was a simple thing. When I was at McNeil Island, I used to eat every few days. Then by the time I got to Leavenworth, I had a habit of eating 1 day out of 5. So as I was eating 1 day out of 5, someday I would eat 1 day out of 7, because the Lamb told us that was what was good to eat like that. Once a day generally, but if you can eat once every 7 days, you know. So I was up to 5 days normally. And the day I ate, I was like, I would start in the morning with something light, then I'd have something a little heavier in the afternoon. And the first day after eating, I would still be a little drowsy and everything. Now, I was drinking coffee and tea during these periods, you know, for energy. So by the second day, I would begin to pick up a little bit, and the third day, I was moving. On the fourth day, good God Almighty, when I was running on the yard, it seemed like just being in another space. And then I realized something. I said, wait a minute. I feel free. Something is funny happening here. Although there's the bars and Leavenworth and everything. But in prison, all of your daily activity is centered around eating. And that's one of the only pleasures that you have in prison is eating. The whole thing is regulated, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you know, troop movements too. And I realized that just the control of my diet made me feel free. That I felt free in prison. Because they was not controlling my diet. Up until even the last time I was in prison, when I go to jail in California, I don't eat at all. And I told them, I said, I'm prepared to go 30 days or whatever When you let me out, that's when I'll eat. So the longest I did in jail was 6 days. And that 6-day, boy, look here, I was just floating. And you know what? Everybody in jail, they get their soups and they get all that commissary, and that's the whole thing. And they couldn't understand why I'm taking in water. And I'm making sure everybody know. So when they bring them sandwiches or the food, I always, here you go, brother, you can have this. Or here you go. So I was making sure that they knew that I wasn't eating. Why was that? That was because their whole thing is centered around food. The ones that have more status have the most food or commissary, you know. I mean, they get them a cup of noodles, they get them all that stuff. And that's the status in jail. So when you don't eat, I exercised, I prayed, and I fasted. And they say, what's happening? So the first day, they gonna look and they gonna say, yeah. The second day, they starting to, wait a minute, I ain't never seen nobody go 2 days without eating. On the third day, I'm not eating. The fourth day, I'm not eating. And now, that's the whole focus. The whole focus is me not eating. And I'm just cruising right along. And guess what? I feel liberated. So, when you control your environment, it says, this is what the hadith is saying, a free man is free under all circumstances, even though he's subdued, even though he's in prison. Like Yusuf alayhi salam was in prison, a real live prison. But he was still doing the work of Islam. That's why he was interpreting dreams and everything. And he tell one guy, he said, oh, don't look too good for you, homeboy. Look like the buzzards and stuff gonna be picking at your head. He told the other guy, he said, you're going back to taking care and looking out for the king, the cupbearer. And he was teaching the one God theory in jail. That's what he was doing. So he was free, although he was in prison. Now remember, when they come, when the guy finally reminded, oh, you had a dream? And everybody said, man, we don't know nothing about those stuff you talking about. That's the king's people. So the cupbearer, I got a homeboy in the penitentiary. He down with all of that. So they sent him a message, come on out of the penitentiary. He said, I ain't coming, right? Till y'all give me a certificates of clarity. I want you to clarify this whole incident, right? He didn't run to the door, you gonna let me out? No, he said, oh, no. You gotta clarify the reason that I'm here. You see? Now, this is what the hadith is saying. A free human being is free in all circumstances. Should a misfortune befall him, he bears it with patience. Sabr. Sabr means to check, means to tie. It means to contain, to keep things together. That's what sabr means. Okay? If calamity strike him, they don't shatter him. If he run across them, okay. If taken captive and subdued, he turns hardship into ease. That's why we give that every now and then. We give the lecture of Noah. Same one we was talking about. If us being here, talking this talk out the side of our mouth, is difficult for you, and you We mean the system, with all of its carry-on luggage, with all of its power, with the whole thing laid out. We're not accidentally doing that. We're doing that on purpose. We're saying it once a month, every couple of weeks, hey, don't give us no break. Everybody wants a break. Everybody wants a breather. Everybody wants to get their business going and get up just like an airplane gets up so high, and then they want to cruise. We don't want that, no. The human being would like that. We don't want that. And our discussion proves that we don't want it. We don't want it. Everybody else wants it, but we don't want that. Everything anybody heard around here, it leads to that. No, we don't want that. Why? For other people, that's good. For us, it's not healthy. Why? Because our job calls for evolution. Evolution on a higher and higher level. And if we're to be constantly free and liberated, what it's saying here, that Sabr has a connotation of freedom and liberation. The reason the subject tonight is Sabr and patience, because it leads to liberation. Because it starts off, a free man is free under all circumstances. That's just the way it is. He's free if he's caught by the police, if he's put in prison, if he's subdued, he's still free. Why? Because he's not controlled by the environmental circumstances. He's not saying, anybody go to jail? Every time I go to jail in California, last time I was in jail 4 times out there, I made sure that I wasn't standing at the, hey man, I don't have no real case. Can I go home? I don't know. Absolutely not. I go in, and I sit down. When they come and let me go, I'm going to go. Other than that, I don't have nothing to talk to them about. Right? Because I am freer in jail than they are on the outside. Why? Because of their wants, the things that they want. Right? And I'll get to that in a minute. So, if taken captive and subdued, he turns hardship into ease, as the case of Yusuf. And he's truthful and trustworthy. His freedom saved him from harm, although he was enslaved, subdued, and imprisoned. The darkness of the pit, the well they threw him down, and they threw him down in the well, and the people picked him up and took him off for a miserable price. That means cheaply, because they didn't know his value. What does that mean? The Negroes around here and everywhere else in the world, the Arabs and everybody, they're going to treat you as cheap. Like it don't make no difference what you do. To us, you don't have no value. That's the way they're going to treat you. That's one of the biggest tests. The several tests that a person that's going to take a position like we do have to face. They have to face all kind of challenges, but first of all, they mess around with everything, and they do this and they do that. So people might say, I'm not going to mess with the niggas no more. I'm going to get big and important, and I'm going to get something for myself. All this property, I'm going to put it in my name. I'm not going to have it so. Why? They say, if we disturb the normal human function, that means we make a person's development seem like, who cares? Right? That person will begin to think, oh, if y'all don't care about the masjid, if y'all don't care about the masjid, if this person don't care, then why should I care? Again, I'm going to get what I can for myself. You lost right away. The second you do that, you lost. Because everybody, they break everybody down that way. If you get a case with some old brothers, the police gonna tell you, you cooperate with us, we're gonna give you such and such. We're gonna give you a breather. And then they tell you, if you don't help us, they gonna, we used to call it in California, get down first. Like guys get arrested, they want to tell the police first. Tell that it was the other guy did it, he wanted to rob the bank. I just went along because I had to. It's him, and I'm willing to go in court and say he did it. We call it getting down first. That was years ago. What's the first thing the feds tell you, anybody tell you? You say, I ain't doing that. They said they wouldn't do it for you. So I don't care what they do. I look in my mirror. When I look in the mirror, I don't see no other nigga. I don't see nobody else, so I look in the mirror, I see me. So that means, who am I gonna be happy about? Me. Bump you. Whatever they do, they have to do what they have to do. So that means a person is free at all times. Whatever happened, he changes that to a higher level of freedom. He don't crack. It says right here, let me see. Darkness, pit, dread, whatever befall him, it did him no harm, until God favored him and made the insolent tyrant who had been his master his slave. Then God made him his apostle, and through him was merciful to a people. This way, patience followed by good. So be patient. Reconcile yourself to patience in order that you be rewarded. So patience, self-control, it says right here, let it be known to you that in a man subjugated to the domination of lust and carnal desires, his servitude, servility, and indignity increased in proportion to the intensity of their domination. The more he's dominated by nafs, the more he's dominated by the environment, and the more he asks people for things and security and so-called higher-ups, he's always at a disadvantage, and he humiliates himself. For servitudes mean complete submission and obedience. The man, obedient to lust and subjugated to the carnal self, is their obedient slave. In other words, a person that's controlled by his nafs is a slave to his nafs. That's why we have in Islam, it's called taskiyah bil nafs. That is the purification, the cleansing of your nafs. The making of your nafs, instead of an opponent, they become a servant to the movement. They become a slave to the movement. Why? Because they adhere, they are obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're not begging people for things. They're not coming to people and asking them. Why are you asking somebody who's in need themselves for something? Right? Allah produces everything. Allah is running this, whether they like it or not. Now, they might have a little money and a little power, and they think, no, I'm here, I got this covered. They ain't got nothing covered. They're a servant of Allah. Now, if we submit to those people, the people downtown, the people driving by, right? Or the people on the job, if we submit to the boss, then the boss is our illah. That means our little God, right? And he begins to feel like illah. Except on the day of judgment, all the things on wide open, bam! And he knows in his heart that he don't run anything. He knows in his heart that he's weak and unable. He's selling wolf tickets to all the people, and his wife is slapping him around. Come here, that's right. And he talking, he got me and you thinking he the boss, I'm running the show, right? He's weak. We don't know his weakness because we're too busy googly-eyed in his big car, big house, right? And all of that blinds us. Like Pharaoh was full of weaknesses, but the people was blinded by Pharaoh and his power and his majesty, right? And all of his material. But a pious person don't buy that. In fact, he knows that material is more bondage, more slavery than it is liberation. Okay. The man obedient to lust and subjugated to the carnal self is their obedient slave. He submissively obeys whatever they command and is a humble and obedient servant and slave in front of them. That means that to people, he just running up and down, humiliating himself, saying things and kissing behind, basically. He's kissing those people's behind. His character could be his family. Everybody's being defamed because of his nafs. Now, if you take, who's going to be in control, as we always say? The horse or the rider, right? Now, the horse don't want to be running too hard. The horse got its own nafs and it want to do what it want to do. When we used to rent horses up at the equestrian stables in the hills in Oakland, we would want to ride the horses when we were younger, like cowboys, whooping them around. And so, I don't want to admit it, but you know the trees grow up and they got a branch that grows out like that?
Oh, yeah.
Man, horse sense, I'm just rolling. And that horse rolled me right under that branch. And pop, you could feel that hard wood hitting your head, knocking off your rich clothes and stuff. Because the horse is not that big a fool. He don't want to be running. He done been up there all his life, and he said, hold it. All that cowboy stuff y'all be talking,